Say OK here. And then we want to assign elevations from our EG. So two things. EG surface, if we have this insert intermediate grade breaks, it's going to put an intermediate grade break point along this feature line everywhere a triangle crosses this feature line. If we turn that off, it's only going to put an elevation there, there, and there. So in this case, we want to be as precise as possible. So we want to keep these intermediate points on. So I'm just going to say OK there. And now when we look at this feature line, we have intermediate points along this, and this is where the triangles are crossing this feature line. These are just intermediate elevation points. So as we, let me turn my surface back on here. I showed this to you before, but I'm just going to do it again. So I'm going to turn my triangles on. And you'll see wherever these triangles cross this feature line, there'll be a little point. So it's just picking up that elevation, each one of these triangles. And if we look in our elevation editor, you'll see all these points, different elevations here. And you can weed these points out if needed. If there's just thousands of them, it just takes up space. So you can weed these, and we'll go over that at a later time. But we have that established as our tie-in point for our FG surface. So now I want to add this feature line as a break line to our for our FG. Let's delete my FG real quick. Start from scratch. So going and Trent, do you understand what a feature line is? So it's just basically a 3D polyline with a bunch of elevations on it, and then you add that to your surfaces to create break lines. So, and I'll show you kind of what it's doing here. So we want to add this to our surface as a break line. We don't have our FG created yet, so I'm just going to say add a new surface, or I mean create a new surface here. Wipe the counter out. Just we're going to create an FG surface. Those contours. Since Tyler is working on this too, I'm just going to name this FG surface 1 and say OK, and leave this all default. Say OK. And now it's going to create our FG surface. So it's basically just triangulating through all these points along our EG surface and tying into these existing contours. They look different because I have my contours set on my EG to 5. So let me just change this here real quick. And you'll see this better. Put this back to 1. And then you'll see at every proposed contour, it's tying into the existing or close. Making sense so far? So we've got our boundary, our tie-in point points created. I'm just going to hide my EG surface, my FG surface. I'm just going to freeze a bunch of this stuff off that I don't need to see right at the moment. Any of this existing down right now. So I want to create a finished floor, and we have a finished floor elevation established. So we need to create a boundary of this our building here. So type in BO at the command line for boundary. Now we want to just pick a point inside that building, and it's going to generate a polyline for that building. And then we wanted to create a feature line from that polyline at the correct elevation, so then we have a finished floor in our FG surface. So then we go back up to our feature line, pull down, and we want to create a feature line from objects. And I'm recording this, by the way, so you guys can go back and refer to this and do it on your own. So I'm creating a feature line from an object. I want to change the style. This is pretty much the only time I change the style is when I'm doing a building, or in some cases I change it to curb. But this is the default style for most of your feature lines. But for the finished floor and curb, I just change it. It's just a different color. You can just so it makes it it differentiates it from the rest of the feature lines. So I just set this to building. And then I erase the existing entities, and then I just hit OK. So it just generated that feature line, but it's still at 0 elevation. So if you look at this in your properties, you'll see that the minimum and max elevation are 0. So we have to change that to our finished floor elevation. So to do that, there's a couple of ways you can do it in elevation editor, but the quick way for a finished floor, since all these elevations are going to be the same on each corner, I want to just raise. This is the raise lower command for feature lines. And at the command line, it asks you a question: what's your elevation? This is set to 1 typically, but we already punched these numbers in, so this will just stay as the default as you're going. So we want to raise that line based off of that number there. And now if we look at this and our properties, our minimum and maximum elevation is that finished floor elevation. And again, we want to add this finished floor elevation to our surface. So we highlight the feature line, add to surface as a break line. We have FG surface created already. Say OK there. Leave all this to default. Now, if we look at our FG now we have our tie-in to existing, and now we have a finished floor elevation created. Set this style to no display.
Looks pretty tight there on the south side.
Say again?
Say it looks pretty tight there on the south side.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, buddy.
Looks pretty tight there on the south side.
Yeah. Pretty steep. We're gonna put a wall in here, so up against this building. So yeah, that's a pretty steep slope right there. So we have finished floor established. We have our boundary established. We have this covered deck that we want to add a feature line to, tie it into our finished floor elevation. I'm just gonna hide this surface real quick. This patio is gonna be at the same finished floor elevation, but it's gonna slope away at 2%. So it drains off the edges. I'm just gonna do this real quick. Do a poly line and go around this patio real quick here. Perpendicular to the sidewalk, perpendicular to the building. We're just gonna cut off these columns that are underneath in the support columns. So we want to generate another feature line. So create feature line from objects again. Selecting the polyline. We're going to say, okay, enter there, leave this all default, okay. And then we want to raise that again to finished floor elevation. That button. And it's defaulting to the same elevation we punched in for finished floor. Hit okay. Now that matches finished floor there. And then we're going to add that to our surface. So now we want to edit this feature line so it's sloping away from the building. We're going to add some feature line labels so we can figure out what's going on with this feature line here. So if you go to annotate, select your price tag there, this dialog will come up, and we want to go to line and curve. And we can select single segment. In this case, I'm going to say multiple segments. Then we want to label our feature line elevation. And then there's another one for the curve slope if we had a curve on this feature line. In this case, we don't. But we want to add these labels to this feature line. Typically, I do them one at a time, just because they just get in the way and they overlap each other and all that. So, but let's just
Can I ask you a quick question, Jeff?
Yeah, what's up?
Do you add vertices to the location on the finished floor pad where the vertices, where the feature line, the other feature line for the patio touches?
Where are you saying?
Where you drew the lines, the feature lines for the patio from the pad, where do they touch the feature line on the pad?
They can, because they're at the same elevation. If they weren't, if this was a little bit lower and that wasn't at a door or something, then yeah, I would add a little separation in there, just because you can't have the two elevations at the same point. But in this case, it's coming off the building at the same elevation, so yes, they can touch.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so back to these labels. I'm selecting multiple segments. I'm going to add here, select the feature line. Find it. And it'll add a elevation and a slope in between each one of these points. And you see two, so because it puts one at the beginning, at the end. So that's why you see two on each corner. So it's beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end. So now we need to edit this feature line so it's sloping away from our building. We want to highlight our feature line. And there's a couple of different ways to do this, but this is the fastest and easiest way, I think. Instead of using this elevation editor and then scrolling down through here, trying to figure out what point is on your line and you know where that point is, you'd have to zoom out and find that triangle highlighted in your on your feature line. I just use this quick elevation editor here. And what this does is go just between 2 points. So I have this highlighted. I select this quick elevation edit. And then you can just kind of hover around your feature lines and it'll tell you your elevation. And then it'll tell you your slope in between. And this goes in, this little glyph will show you what direction you're grading to in. So for this, this one, we want to grade away from the building. So we're pointing in that direction and we want to go at -2%. And then it changes this elevation here. So it's going from finished floor down to 74.79 at a 2% grade. And same thing on the other end. We're coming off this side of the building down at 2%, -2 there. And then for the rest of this, I don't really care what these elevations are, so I'm just gonna go 0 all the way around, just so it's lower than the building. So I'm just gonna go 0 in this direction. 0 in this direction. We could go 2% there, but I'm not really worried about it at this point. We can change it later. 0 in this direction. And then there's a little remainder because this leg is longer than this leg or vice versa. So there's just a little rounding issue there. So now when we look at our surface here, we can see our finished floor. And then we have this contour in our patio showing that it's sloping away from the building. And then it's just grading up to the edge here where our wall will eventually be. Making sense? Right? And you created with feature lines before, right, Chad? So I'm not really, that's why I'm not asking you, because I know you've done this before.
Yeah.
So, so we have that kind of as our start for our FG surface here. Now we need to kind of fill the rest of this in by hand.
Did we lose Jeff? Yeah, he froze. Hold on.
I think he's thinking.
All right, I dropped out there for a second. So where did I leave off?
We're about to start with the where you and I left off with that feature line in the pan.
Oh yeah, okay. Right. So let's go back here. So what I was saying was Tyler has already graded this on paper, so we know what our elevations need to be over here where we're tying into this existing flow line. So we're going to start a feature line here just by create feature line. And we want to just, this is going to be default here again. And we want to start at this flow line of this pan right here at this point. And so what was that elevation, Tyler?
It was 6174.59.
Once that elevation in, then we go down to this edge here. And we have an elevation or a slope in between.
So the next elevation that I have is where the pan flow line meets the existing flow line.
Socket line.
Which is right there.
Yep.
Yeah. So do we have a slope on that? Or just
So
visually?
I have an elevation and then the slope varies. So which
Okay. So
Which would be
yeah,
better?
so we'll just point it, we'll just punch in, is that a existing elevation?
yes.
Okay. So we know we're tying into existing there. So at the command line, it's asking you a couple questions here. Specify grade, we could punch that in if we wanted to. In this case, we want to just take it from our surface, our existing surface. So here I'm just going to type in SU because you
Well,
can see.
we don't want surface, right? Because the surface is wrong. We wanted the I have the actual elevation.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So yeah, so we're not tying to existing exactly, right? Is that what you're saying?
The existing is our survey. What we'll be tying into is the master development's grading.
Their design. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just establishing this elevation, right? So
It's another process, huh?
so
Yeah.
what's that? Say again.
I said that's another process to get the finished grade from the other file and make the match line.
Yeah. So we're just gonna specify a grade here. So we're at 6170 what?
6174.04.
And then we end our grading right there. And then let's just label this line real quick.
Did you press enter or escape? It does not matter.
Just enter there. Sorry. Oh, line curve segment. Just gonna add that in there. So I might have punched one of these. Oh, I accidentally punched that in as the grade, not the elevation. So that's
steep.
That's pretty steep. So I'm just
That's
gonna
correct.
go back to this elevation, quick elevation edit here. Go to this endpoint.
Good thing you don't have your surface set to automatically rebuild.
Yeah, right. Because then your contours will be really tight. So I'm just gonna do a quick edit elevation on that one. 6174 point what?
Which point are you asking for?
On this end?
That one is 74.04.
And this 617404. What were we on this side? I punched this one in wrong too. Oh, I put a double 7 in there.
Yeah, so that one should be 74.59, just without the extra 7.
Yeah,
And then the slope in the middle should be 0.75. Is that what you got? Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so if you see the slope is wonky like I just did, you know right away that you either fat fingered it or you just punched in the wrong elevation. So now we can add this in to our surface. We can draw a corridor down through here too with a pan. In this case, we're probably just going to offset it, or kind of tie it into this flow line actually. So let's just hold off on adding that to the surface for now.
Okay.
So where else are we? We're tying into this sidewalk, right?
Yep. And I have those points as well.
And let's see. Just kind of wondering if we should do a corridor down through or just basic feature lines. Yeah, let's just do feature lines on this one. This is such a small site. I don't think we need to. We might put some curb in here, but it's so small. We can just offset some feature lines. So we want to create this sidewalk here. We can do it. Is this a step down into this curb here?
What do you mean? So that's
is there curb and gutter along this?
There
edge?
is.
Okay.
The proposed sidewalk ties into the back of curb with the master development.
Yeah, and I think I just had that layer frozen off, is why it just looks wonky.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay, so let's just do another feature line. Create feature line. We're gonna go the default there. Hit this corner. What's our elevation there?
Did you pick the flow line next to the sidewalk? Is that what you did?
I picked the sidewalk, so it's just going to be a half a foot above that flow line. Is that where you are? We
I have it. Oh,
we-
so I see what you're saying. So I have the flow line elevation, so we just need to go 6
Yep,
inches above
6
that, right?
inches. Yep.
So the flow line is 73.33, so that'll be 73.83.
Yeah.
61, 73.83.
And then we're just going down to this corner. Endpoint. Do we know the slope, or do you have, because we can do it by slope or elevation.
So the slope of the flow lines, let's just say that that matches. Where'd you end? I see where you end. It's 0.6 towards the east, so we're going uphill. Or sorry, we're going uphill.
Uphill. So it's defaulting to grade here. So in this case, we just want to say 0.6 because it's going uphill. If it was going downhill, it'd be minus 0.6. So we just hit enter there. And we want to, so we're still in this feature line creation command. So we have a couple options down here. We can say, we can add an arc here. So just A for arc. And we want to go to the end point of that arc. And now we need to go back to, what's the elevation there?
I screwed up my radius, so I'll fix that later. The elevation, I don't have the elevation there. I have the elevation down at that right angle is my next elevation.
Okay, so we can just, let's just, for a grade there, I'm just gonna hit enter at this point, because we can edit it in a second after we get it done. So we just hit enter there, and then we still have this arc. This arc. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. So yeah, the arc is still active, so we need to go back to a line. So we can just hit L for line. And then go down to this end. And then this is going to be a half a foot above our flow line. So what's the elevation there?
That is 74, sorry, 61, 74, 41.
So I still have grade here. So to get to elevation, we just type in E and then enter, and then we can punch that elevation in. So 61, 74 point, what, I'm sorry, what did you say?
4.1.
4.1. Then we go all the way down to this TC endpoint. And what's the elevation there?
Quick question. You were just snapping the endpoint there. Okay. I don't have the elevation of that exact point, but the slope of that line is 0.5%.
So it's going up still?
Yeah.
So we have elevation still active here, so we want to go back to grade. So you type in G for grade.
Sorry, it's going down, but if you see that dashed line kind of by where you ended the feature line, that's an inlet. So there's a low point right there.
Okay. So this wants to be flat usually across here. It depends on how they built it though. Sometimes it's on the slope and it catches and then it starts going back uphill or continues downhill. Do we know in this case?
We don't. They didn't provide a ton of information. I'll find out for the real design.
Okay, so we'll just assume that we're going downhill to the edge and then we'll go flat across here. So I'm just going to.
Is that the inlet right there?
Yeah,
dash
that
line?
little.
Okay, I thought so.
So I'm just gonna hit enter here and let it default. And then we can just we'll drop a PI there. So let's first off label this lineup. Okay, add labels. We go line and curve, multiple segments. Close that out. So we're going up 0.6, going around this corner at a 0.6. We can straight grade from here to there. We'll do that in a second. But I want to add a PI right here at the edge of this inlet. So in this feature line editor, I'm just going to do an insert PI here. Drop it right there at this intersection of the inlet. Parent intersection.
Apparently.
It's not picking it up. Let's do the parent intersection again. There. And then specify elevation. I'm just gonna hit a enter there because I don't really care. So we got a 4.36. Tyler says it's a 0.5 going downhill. So we're gonna go back to our quick elevation edit. Hover over the feature line. We're going in that direction at a minus 0.5. So we're 74.11. And then we see that it's 32% going back uphill. So I'm just going to enter 0 there. So we're just going to assume that this is a flat inlet. So when we label this line up again,
I wonder if there's a local depression there at the inlet.
there could be. So we have this and figured out. So now I'm going to just bump this scale down a little bit so we can read this a little bit better. So I'm going to straight grade from this point to this point here. So I do this typically in elevation editor. So I go to this 74.27. I know I'm going to this 74.41. So I just click and highlight those elevations. And then there's this flatten grade or elevations. I like that button. And in this case, we want to go a constant grade. Constant elevation will put them all at the same elevation. We just want to grade in between those 3 points. And they're all at 0. So Tyler, you said that is this point correct? We got 0.6 in that direction. Do we know what this corner is? You said you knew this elevation right at the flow line. What's that?
My bad, I forgot I was muted. If you pan to the left, can we see what the slope over there is doing? I think I might have that going the wrong way when I told you. So that's 6% uphill to the right, right? Is that what that says?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, it should be 6% the other direction. That's the
Okay.
mistake.
Okay, so that's easy fix. So we go back to here. Hover over this slope. Click on it, do a minus 0.6. And we've got, that changes this elevation, changes this grade in between these two, and this curve. So do we know this, you know, this point here, right? Too?
Yeah, it should be. So that point should be about 74.41.
So we'll go 6174.41. And now we want to straight grade, because obviously we got some blown slopes in here. So we're gonna go from 73.39 to 74.41. That's almost a foot.
I don't know how. So that point
sure?
up there. That's the high point. So if we're going down now, how is that point on the corner? So that 73.39 should be 74.46, should it not? Because now it's higher than all that.
I thought we were going downhill in this which way are we going downhill?
So
Is it
we're-
all draining this way?
Yeah, so that should be higher, right? The point on the right. Because that
Oh
slope
yeah,
is
so
correct.
yeah, you said you were going uphill in this direction. Did we
Well,
switch that or no?
That's the same thing, right? So uphill from left to right is downhill, right to left. It's the same thing.
We're going
Yeah,
down to
so-
the inlet. To the inlet, it goes down, right?
So this is draining from right to left, or this line that we're looking at right here.
Yes.
So
Should
the
it be?
point, yeah, so that's correct the way it's drawn, but that point up there doesn't make any sense. So that point's correct.
So you're
So-
saying,
It's drawn
uh,
and needs to be positive.
okay, yeah, I switched it, so I thought that's what you were saying, so let me go back.
I might have misspoke. I don't remember what I said.
Let's just go back to where it was. So, come on. $74.27. Does that look right?
Yeah, that's it's closer.
Okay, yeah, okay, so what about this corner here?
That corner should be about 74.41.
Okay, all right, now we're back on track. So I'm gonna fix this line, and that's 6 inches above your flow line, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So 6174.41. So now we want a straight grade between those 2 points. So again, we're gonna go from 74.27 down to 41. Constant grade. So it's a 1.8 from this corner to this corner. So it's going uphill. This is all flowing this way, and then this starts to flow down this way, and this is blown now. Oh no, that's good there. I think we had it right before. We just messed up in between here. So this is now going downhill to this inlet here, 74.11, going flat across the inlet, and then probably going back uphill in this direction. Which it doesn't look like it's doing. So that we're 74.04 here. Oh, wait a second. This is flow line.
that's flow line. Yeah, I
So
think
this is
sidewalk. It
gonna
all goes
be-
around the corner.
Yeah, so this is gonna be 73.61 flow line. So yeah, it's all flowing into this inlet here. Okay. All right. So This is going to be a little tricky in here, getting this corner of this sidewalk in. And let's pause this meeting for a second. My teeth are floating, so I'll be right back.
It's like a city thing now. Out of country. Yeah, I've heard that. Right lane. The actual traffic sign. Got covered yet. Nothing called fat rat. Could keep the kids out of it. Yep. That's in their design. Like, oh yeah, put a sign. Every couple of months. Put a leash on you. Put it. Yeah, but I used to wear diapers. Put a rock and roll on. Bring up that one side. I would like to be as fast as David. Eventually. Helps out. Yeah, mine free. I'm flawed.
So,
Jeff, I'd just like to say I've never heard that expression before, and it confused the hell out of me.
what expression?
Your teeth are floating. I thought you had dental problems.
Oh, yeah. No,
I was like, what the fuck is going on?
No idea either.
was like, gosh, I've had Jeff talking so long, his teeth are starting to fall out.
No, it just means you got to pish. So where we at? Okay, so we have this sidewalk, edge of sidewalk drawn in. We can connect into this point. So we are grading, let's see. This pan in here. So do we know how deep this pan is?
Oh God, if you had asked me yesterday, I would. Oh, I got it right here. Hold on.
What's typical, 1.5 inches?
So it's kind of modifying an existing pan. I have to clean up something, but it's basically 0.08 feet.
So 1 inch.
So an inch.
Yeah.
So 1 foot at an inch. Okay. So we want to offset these two this feature line on either side to create either edge. So we'll highlight the feature line. Then we want to go to this stepped offset command right here.
Do we still have you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for you guys to catch up here. So it's this button right here, stepped offset. It's asking me the distance. It's 1 foot on either side, so I just punch in 1 there. It's gonna say what side are you going? I'm just gonna go to the right first, so this side. And then you have a couple options to for your offset elevation. So in this case, we just want to go elevation difference. So the difference is going to be 0.08. And then drops in your feature line on the other side. So that now you have the outside of your pan in that direction. So let's just label this thing, make sure it did it right. So it's up your 1 inch on that side. So we want to do the same thing for the other side, and then we're just going to trim it off on the side where this pan meets the lip of this gutter over here. So highlight your feature line again, stepped offset. You want to go this side this time. Oh, sorry, distance first. So distance is 1. Side is left. It's defaulting to your 0.08 again. So we're just going to hit enter. Now we have it on both sides. And I'm just going to label this line here. So there we have both edges of our pan with the flow line in between. I'm going to trim this off. So I'm just going to draw a line right here at this intersection point. Like my feature line and use this trim command. You can't use the regular trim command when you're trimming feature lines. So there's a trim command here. There's a break command. There's a join command. This is all in the feature line edit geometry section. Not sure what that's about. So I'll highlight your feature line. I'm going to say trim, my trimming entity, and trim out my feature line. So then we can tie our pan in, our lip of gutter into that point there. We'll have our feature line tie into this existing flow line and our back of curb. So we know we have a flow line here and we're going to tie in down here. So we're going to draw another Feature line, do we have grades all along here, Tyler, or what do we got going on?
Yeah, these are proposed grades though.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Yeah.
need to just come off, is this ramp, and then this is going up to a door, I assume?
Yeah, so I've got the elevations I have are the flow line next to the sidewalk.
Yep,
The but this is all flat. So that sidewalk there is flush with these handicap stalls, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Because everything's draining back towards the drive aisle. So it
Yep.
might be easier if you turn on your existing again, your E-base, just so you can see that flow line.
yep. Okay, so there's our existing flow line, our existing lip of gutter. So we're coming off of here, we're gonna come up and this is gonna tie into, this. Regrading all of yeah, I guess we would be, right? So,
That might change, but for now, yes. So I have 3 points along that flow line, if you want me to give you those.
yeah, so let's start here first. So let's go to feature line, create feature line. We want to go to the endpoint of this. Specify elevation, we just want to match that one there, 6174.12. Or I mean, sorry, 04.
You said 104. Yeah, there you go.
An arc. Drop an arc in here, go to the endpoint of this. And are we going up at 2%?
So I don't know what the exact percentage is, but if you follow that flow line down to the corner, I can give you that elevation.
So I'm just gonna go up at, I'm just gonna say grade. So it's an existing, I mean, it's a handicap spot, so I'm just gonna say, grade at 1.5 in that direction, and then we're gonna go a line there and then end up there, and what do we got there?
6174. 0.38.
And then we're going to stop it right there. We have a point there.
Yep, 7436. Sorry, 6174.36.
Okay. And then what do we got? Where do we go from there?
The next point I have is if you follow that flow line south to where it's perpendicular with the sidewalk. So if you
Oh, right there.
exact, perpendicular with the sidewalk, but yes.
Okay.
And that is 6174.6.
And then we come up here to tie into the building. I'm just going to say grade at 1.8 there.
So that grade is 0.5.
Are we?
Which might be too. I might be too mild. I don't. No, the doors. No, there's no door there. It's just I tried to keep a.
We definitely want to. We want to at least a 1.8 in there. Great. Is this going to be? Is there any curb and gutter here, or is this all flush?
It's all flush and it drains to the northeast.
Okay.
So
okay, that's good.
So what is the? That's a good question. What do you guys assume for like a max cross slope on a sidewalk? Like what do you guys typically do?
Max is 2%, but typical is 1.8.
Is that right? Okay.
For most. And if it's a Denver project, then it's 1.5.
So for some reason, I think it was just a constructability thing. I had all our typical sidewalk cross slopes as 0.5. So I'll have to change that.
Yeah, well, yeah, you want at least 1.8 for most.
Okay.
It used to, they've changed it a couple of times over the past couple of years. It used to be 2%. But nobody would build it to 2% and they throw a level on it. It's over 2%. So then they went to 1.8 and then, so if you throw a level on it, plus or minus, you get that 2%. And then Denver got even more strict and said, well, nobody is building it to 1.8, so let's just do it to 1.5. But 1.5 is probably the minimum. Unless you're warping your sidewalk and it's, going from sloping downward back to upward, or in that case.
Yeah,
you
so
can
I'm gonna
have
have to
flatter
change all these.
slopes. Yeah, but nothing over 2% and nothing under 1.8.
That'll actually make things better. It's just I'll just have to change it.
Okay. So we have all these feature lines that we've drawn in here now. So I'm just gonna start grabbing these. I'm just gonna do, yeah, let's just grab these 3 or 4 that we have. And say add to surface as break line. FG surface in your case. Default there. And now we have some pan, some sidewalk, some flow line elevations in here. And if you want to do this in an object viewer and take a look at it, see that it's our finished floor. Here's our pan that we just graded in. Here's that flow line, and then we go up to the building. And then there's an elevation bust right there, just because this point might be so much lower or higher than that point, which is normal. And then we'll just take a feature line at this end and go down and tie it into the other end of the sidewalk. So this, finished floor will be 8 inches above your sidewalk at the doors.
Wait, you want the finished floor to be 8 inches?
No, at finished grade, not at the sidewalk, at the doors. That's what I meant to say. So let's actually, I'm going to turn the doors back on. We've got a double door here. You got a double door here. This will have to be at grade, and then all of this curb is coming out, right?
Yeah, it's all flush right there.
Yeah, all flush until we get to here, and then we're ramping down.
Yep. Ramping up
to this backup curb here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. And then is this door at a different elevation?
No, it should be at it.
Because if we're ramping up, I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, we can keep this sidewalk all at the, okay, yeah.
You see how I kind of did it?
Yep, I got you.
The slopes are wrong, but the concept is there, I think.
Yeah, I see it. I got you now. So, okay, so we'll just have to take this line now, and we're gonna offset it 6 inches up and put in this backup curb. So let's just highlight this feature line here, do another stepped offset. You want to go 6 inches, so 0.5 is the distance. We want to go on this side. Elevation difference is going to be a 0.5. So there is our backup curb. But we need to trim this out because our backup curb is going to stop right here at this ramp.
So along that ramp, the curb and gutter will transition. It'll kind of
Yeah,
follow
so
the slope of the
it'll go
ramp.
from 6 inches. Yeah, so it'll go from 6 inches up here. Hold on, frozen up here. It'll go from 6 inches down to 0 to there. So we'll just stop we can actually just pull this down to flow line elevation. So let's just trim it out there then. We'll just do a line.
Okay.
Trim that out there. So highlight your feature line. We're gonna go trim. Select our trimming entity, trim it out there. And then we're gonna label this line to see what we got going on here. And my computer's slow. We need a little breakpoint in here, so we're just gonna go insert breakpoint and go right to the end point of this. And then we need to figure out what our elevation is right there.
Can we just plug in the slope for the ramp at 8.3% to get that elevation, or do you have to have the
Sure.
elevation?
No, you can do it that way. So as long as these two points match up. So this is going to be 74.36 down here at the ramp, at the bottom of the ramp. So we're just going to drop this down. 6174.36. And then, yeah, we can just highlight this line and go up at a 8.3. And there's our ramp.
So that second 74.36, that should be just a little bit higher than that flow line, right? Since everything's draining to the northeast, like a fraction of a percent. Because it's not technically flat right there. Everything's still draining up and to the right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be measurable. It's
Okay.
not gonna change this number. It's only a half a foot over 1.5%. So
Okay.
it might be a hundredth, but probably not.
Okay.
And your accessible spaces are graded at 1.5%. Long wise and width wise.
So you're saying ADA spaces are 1.5 in each direction,
Yeah.
max?
Yeah, it just can't be over 2% on in a diagonal. So 1.5 and 1.5. Anything over 2 going diagonally is won't comply.
Like 2.083333. Say
that again.
Isn't the max grade like 2.0833? I mean, I'm not saying we should go any steeper, but
I just do it 1.5% in this direction. And then typically, if you're in it's just, it depends on where your doors are too. But yeah, I don't do anything over 1.5% in this direction or that direction. So it's probably a little bit flatter most of the time, which is fine, because
it'll be a little bit steeper
cases,
going diagonal, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And typically, most handicap spaces are concrete, so that's totally buildable. If you do them in asphalt, then you have to kind of make your tolerances a little.
Can't go
more
too
forgiving.
slight.
Right. So we have our back of curb and our ramp in now. So we can add this to our surface. And then, yeah, you just come off of here at 1.8 and establish your ramp on this side, tie it into this point here off of your building. Same way in this direction. And the way I do it is because this door wants to be at finished floor, but then you are grading away from this building at 1.8. So yeah, you would just drop a feature line right here, coming down at 1.8 to that corner. This is going to be probably really close to finished floor elevation on that point, all the way around, and then you'll grade 2% in this direction, or I'm sorry, 1.8 in this direction to get the rest of your sidewalk in. This, again, actually, we'll just start here. So this is going to be, so I didn't know there was a door here, so we'll have to change this. This will have to be at finished floor elevation. So let's just change this to 0.
It's just a patio grade. Does that change that? Or just a patio like swing gate?
Actually, yeah, we can leave that. True, very true. We can leave that. That's fine. So let's do that real quick. So we're gonna just drop a feature line here. Feature line. Oh, sorry, not from objects. We're gonna just create a feature line. Leave this all default. We want to go to the endpoint of our sidewalk here. And in this case, we want to pick up the surface elevation because we have this feature line as a part of our FG. So I'm just going to say SU for surface there. I want FG surface elevation. It'll pick that elevation up, and then we're going to pull it down in this direction. And then we can come back up here. Let's see here. This can all be this can all be at finished floor too. So we can stop that right. Think about this real quick. So we can just kind of come short right here and miss this corner because we don't want the building feature line crossing the sidewalk feature line. So I'm just going to kind of drop it right there. Not really concerned about the elevation at this point, and then come all the way down here to this point, and then come up to short of the building again, and then tie it back in there, and take it all the way to this point. So we have this finished floor elevation. If it's not matching that exact elevation where our sidewalk is coming in, then you don't want to cross this line. So that's why I dropped these points in a little short of the building. So we can put our own elevations in there and regrade this sidewalk in however we need to get it to tie into the doors and then actually slope away from the building so it drains off and there's no standing water. So this is all going to be draining this way in this direction at 2%. We could probably change this to 1.8 here. So then we have a 1.8 sidewalk right there at this gate or door or whatever it is. And then tie it back into this sidewalk here. We'll just have to figure out, this is going to be coming up at 1.8 to this corner. And then probably we can probably go flat here, down 1.8 in that direction. This has to get back up to finished floor elevation. Is this, Tyler, is this all connected? Or is this like a, I'm assuming this is just all flush here, right?
So I had it going 0.5% in both directions. So
Okay.
that's what I
So-
had, but it could be flat.
So, yeah, so we're gonna just change these elevations to get to this point. So this elevation is at the door elevation. And then we can slope this away in this direction and come down in this direction. Probably be kind of flat going this way, flatter, and then 1.8 in this direction. And then just depending on what your grades look like here, and then it'll just continue to flow in at 1.8 all the way off the curb. But that being said, yeah, you'll just have to label this line like we have been with your feature line labels, and then drop in your labels, and then you know, you can calc this based off of if we change this elevation here, we can drop another feature line there or do a stepped offset. It's going to be a little tricky because is this all one width here? Is it the same width around this corner? So that's five. Is that 6? That's 6. So might have to just calculate what your elevations are going to be in these corners. And by doing that, you can just draw another feature line going straight across, or yeah, I would start here basically. So you're going to start here, edit your elevation, you're going up at 1.8%. And then you want to get to here, we can go flat in this direction, and then you're going to go down minus 1.8, and then you've got that established, and then you're just going to come back up to finished floor, and this can be probably flat, right? And then down 1.8 in that direction, and then you just got to get to this door down in 1.8 in that direction. And then once you have all these grades in, these elevations set, then you can either do a stepped offset, or in this case, if I need to get a 1.8 to there, I just draw another feature line in. So I go create feature line, go from this endpoint here, and I go from surface, FG surface, go in this direction, and then I set my grade right here at a minus 1.8. And there's your starting point for that part of the sidewalk, and then you can just run a feature line all the way around this. So then you would just label this, you know, your feature line elevation there. Same way here. You can just connect these with feature lines to calculate this corner and this corner, so on. So if you want to just keep running with that, Tyler, and if you get stuck somewhere, just let me know. But now that you have kind of the gist of grading with the feature lines, just give it a shot, and let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks, man. Hey, real quick, are you able to show us how to put in a retaining wall on that south side, or is that something we should do later?
Well, if you know what your slopes are gonna be, so where's your wall? Right here?
I'd say
Or
just
all the way
the
around?
wall is halfway between.
No, I think you just say again.
The wall is halfway between the patio and the property line, and like
Okay,
the
so
southeast or
yeah,
southwest
so
corner.
if you draw a polyline where your wall is gonna be,
Mhm.
you're just gonna come off, you're just gonna come off your proposed or existing, doesn't matter, because they're all this, it's gonna be the same elevation, right? So you can just go here, you can go specify elevation from surface. You can use either surface because they're the same. And then you can come up at a certain slope. So let's go up at to the, just say your wall starts, the bottom of your wall starts right here. Stop it there, and then you can say grade. You're gonna say grade at 25%. And I'm gonna follow down this way to the other edge of the wall at, doesn't matter the percent, and then tie back into this surface here. So SU for surface, it's giving us that elevation. I say enter. So now when I label this line, so let's label it up here. So we've got a slope coming up at 25% to our wall. It's going 0 in that direction, and that says 12 there. So we want this at 25 as well. So we're just going to edit this slope on this end, say 25, and there's our wall. That's the bottom of our wall. And then you're
Yeah,
just
and
gonna
that matches
add,
really close.
then you're just gonna add that to your FG and say okay. And then it slopes, and there's bottom of wall. And then top of wall, you're gonna just do the same thing. You're gonna be coming down at a certain slope and establish your top of wall on the other side. And then that will create your wall.
What's the difference? I mean, how much can you retain, Jeff, before you have to tier the walls?
It
Depends on the city.
depends. We don't really get into that much. The
Okay.
structural engineer will usually dictate that. And we usually don't detail that. I mean, if it's a 20-foot wall, then yeah, we'll have to. But if it's like a 7-foot wall or a 5 or 6, 7-foot wall, we just draw it at a foot thick and then draw the top and the bottom, and then we're done with it.
Okay.
Is there a way to quantify the foot thick with the feature lines, or do I just start the top of wall a foot away from what we just
Yeah,
drew?
so yeah, just I would draw your wall in where you think it's gonna be in your P base, and then have it just a foot thick, and then just draw your,
Perfect.
yeah, just draw your bottom feature line to that side, the bottom, and then draw your other feature line coming off of your building on that side. So if you have if it's not at building elevation, then you're just gonna have to create another feature line here at finished grade. You know, if you got an exposed foundation or a stem wall on this side, probably gonna be exposed on this side because it's so steep. But
Yeah.
yeah, you'll just have to create another feature line along here at your finished grade elevation, and then come down to your top of wall. So yeah. But if you need help with that, just let me know.
I think I got it.
But I
That
would
was
draw your
awesome. Thanks.
wall in first. What's that?
I said that was great. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, I would draw your wall in first so you know where to drop your feature lines in, but, yeah. That's it.
Cool, Jeff. Thanks again, man.
Pretty good?
Appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, right on. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Jeff. that happen are same thing up here. So we and 25% down, it's the same thing. And those are your elevations, and then on a grading plan, we just give elevations. That's all we show. It's an 8-foot wall, and then if the structural engineer wants to tier it, that's you say there's 8 feet of grade that needs to be get up there essentially. That's not a rule of thumb. Even with retaining walls, that's to get rid of the sides. No. If you have a sidewalk up here, down here. Like usually, that's 4 to 1. It's well, that's the amount of side slope. Great. And you look at any wall, hiding wall. I just want to make up the slope. Yeah. So what restriction are you talking about? I'm not aware of any of that because all I know is you go 4 to 1, you build the wall, go 4 to 1. I'm not aware of anything else besides that. Yeah, well, let me. Project down it. Oh, so you know what I mean? With the walls for a tier. They do city, but for example, the tiers had it wasn't even that they were basically flat, and then it was the tier was the width of the tier is the height of the one. Yeah, okay. Oh, so I forgot the next.